Would you like to do some baking? Would you like to do some baking? Would you like to do some baking? Here is my friendship caking. In the 80s, and probably for centuries before then, but it first came to my house in the 80s, was the friendship cake, which soon turned into, as my mum said when I spoke to her on the phone, well, hang on a minute, let's pedal back a bit. So there we are in the house, normal day, nothing happening, knock at the door, Candy, who lived down the road, nice she was. I looked at her for too long, let's just say that. She used to wear the little fingerless lace gloves. When you're 14, 11, or 40. Anyway, a bowl of muck. She's got a bowl of muck with her. And a handwritten pre-computer, not pre-typewriter. It might have been typed. Now I can remember it being handwritten with all bits of muck on it. This is mucky. And she sat down next to her mum and she went, alright Janet, I got you a friendship cake. Now some of you already know this. Some of you will still know this and you'll be thinking, oh yeah, we do that. And some of you will be like, oh shit, I remember that. And some of you will be like, what? There's no need for me to predict responses, really, is there? Anyway, I'm just chucking this one out there. There's no well, I rang up my mother to get some. It's Sunday, I'm fucked. So she's got this mucky bowl and a mucky page of instructions. It's a yeast-based sludge. And then she says to mother, just read the instructions and every week you'll get a cake. Seems alright. It's called a friendship cake. So mum puts it in the fridge. I'm intrigued. I think it first arrived. I think I might have been a bit younger. Or maybe I'm just saying that because I don't want to admit how intrigued I would have been in a cake, friendship cake, when I was 14. I was 4. It happened last year. Anyway, I was a kid. So every other day my mum has to feed this thing. Put a bit of sugar in it, we think. I spoke to her on the phone a minute ago. We think it was sugar. It's a yeast-based, sugar would make sense. And every day the swamp monster grew a bit. And then by the last day of the week, the Sunday, you take this big pot of blue and you divide it into 3 pieces. And this is key to why my mum said, no, the friendship cake was good. And in the next sentence she went, it was a nightmare. and she referred to killing it. She assumed of it a monster. So on Sunday you divide it, this sort of bleh, into 3 bits, right? One of them you chuck some bits and bobs in, maybe some walnuts. I don't know, I'm not a great baker. Does it show? You put that in the oven. That'll become a cake in half hour. One of the other, the remaining 2 bits, you put it back in the fridge to start the growing schedule again. And then the 3rd bit, of course, would you like to do some baking, do some baking, do some baking? Would you like to do some baking? I have got you a friendship cake. You give that away to someone for them to start their friendship cake. Now, as much with yesterday's video where I talked about pyramid selling, although the friendship cake, would you like to do some baking, is only a generous thing, only a kind, friendly thing, you're still going to run out of friends pretty quickly, especially when in those days your friends were like on your street. And so when Candy's come to my mother one week, next week she's probably gone to Barbara, the week after that Pauline. The street has been done. So if you want to get rid of this 3rd bit, after that you've got to start thinking about vehicles and public transport. And you know, it's not so bad to knocking up on someone's door. Yeah, look, I've got you this. Oh, it's great. You're going to love it. Would you like to do some baking? But you don't want to be getting in a car and going somewhere because they're special friends. Although you see them less, it's more of an event. Oh, come on, we're going to go and see Auntie Marion. You don't want to end up there with, would you like to order some baking? You want to end up there with a bottle of vodka, maybe some wine, sit around, would you like to? So what happens is, by about 3 weeks in, 1 bit goes in the oven and becomes a cake. 1 bit goes back in the fridge for the growing cycle to begin again. I once knew a cake called Cake It Been Again. The third bit, you don't give it away. You guiltily, and this is why my mum referred to it as a nightmare, you shamefully bin it. You chuck away life. Yeast. You look around a bit. Fuck that. Just get in the... Oh, it smells of yeast. Don't throw it. No one else puts sugar in the bin or this thing's going to climb out. Smother us in our sleep. So the shame begins. Some weeks you're thinking, oh, we don't want that fucking cake again, because you don't use yeast in cakes. You use self-raising flour, butter, eggs. But the yeast-based cake tastes a little bit of yeast. It's a bit yeasty. Oh, yeah. And you want a cake warm. Oh, I love a warm cake on a winter's night. But not the friendship cake, because a warm friendship cake is really yeasty. Would you like to do some baking? Yeah. So when I said that to my mother, I said, does it get to the point where you're just throwing it away regularly and not making another one? She said, oh, it gets to the point where you throw all three away. She said, you kill it. A friendship cake. They're still about. I had a look on YouTube. You can still do them. Apparently they started with fermented fruit. Amish, perhaps. Amish? I don't know. Don't know a lot about the Amish. My mother said to me, and this is where I got muck from, when I was talking to her about it a minute ago. She said, yeah, she said, this sort of thing's been going on years. She said, my mum used to say to me, if you see a woman coming up the garden with a pot of muck, tell her I'm not in. I went, what? Was it a friendship cake? She went, no, ginger beer. Pot of muck. I went, what's a pot of muck? She went, oh, just like, it was like the friendship cake, but for ginger beer. Oh yeah, if you see a man come up the garden, if you see someone coming up the garden with a pot of muck, tell him I ain't in. Iron in? What does that mean? I'm not here to do the ironing. Would you like to do some